So, welcome back, everybody. This is Nightflight. Yeah, Sonia Testament is back, and we are finally going to do our interview that we wanted to do last time, but we got carried away. And that is the Metatron Matrix. So, Sonia, welcome. I hear you are in France and you will stay there for a long time.
Yes. I actually got a year residency
Oh,
and yeah, so I got the year residency and I'm going to extend it and I'm never leaving if that's possible. I love Europe. I love Europe. I was actually born in Germany with a dual citizenship. My father was German, even though he had gone to America to be a citizen. I'm going to say this real quick. So crazy because right now I'm going to be in the process of getting back my German citizenship so I can stay in Europe.
yeah. Yeah, great.
So yeah, so since my father was in the American Army, even though he was a German citizen, because he wanted to become an American citizen, and it took back then in the 60s, it took 7 years to be in America and have a job in order to qualify to become an American citizen. So he was stationed back to Germany, and my mother, who was an American citizen, they got married, had me in Germany in Gelnhausen. So I then became a German citizen and an American citizen because of the crazy scenario. So I'm in the process now of definitely getting all the paperwork together, which I have all of it, and I'm going to be submitting it to the German embassy. And they say it's going to take roughly anywhere from a short frame to up to 3 years to prove that I'm a German born with a German mom or dad to get that citizenship back on again, which I can. I already have the documents.
Yeah, it's too bad that you are not a migrant from the Middle East. In Berlin, you can get your citizenship now via uh, the internet,
What?
just a click away. Mhm.
Wow, that's insane. And here I am. I did have a dual citizenship until I left Germany. I was 19. I'd never denounced Germany, but I don't know whatever happened with that because when I went back to the States when I was 19, I still carried that German dual citizenship. Somewhere along the line, it must have, I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, okay. So I will, I collected a lot of information on Metatron, and I will present. They are very contradicting, I will admit that, but I will present it and then I will have your point of view. Is it that okay with you?
Perfect. Perfect.
So let's start with the regular stuff. That is that Metatron is the scribe of the universe, and he writes down all events into the book of life. That he is the ascended Enoch, who was the great grandfather of Noah, and on it goes. He is not mentioned in the Bible, but you will find him in the Kabbalah. So, what do you think about that?
Okay, so I came across the Metatronic reality probably about 6 years ago. And I used to belong to this group called Kelly Coffee, Kelly and the Raw, on her Patreon when I first got introduced to Cyber World, because that's the first thing my daughter's like, let's go into Cyber World. And a part of us, some event happened where they were talking to each other or something, and a lightning came out and hit the porch of this person who lived in Germany at the time, who was a part of this group, and he actually saw Metatron. And all of a sudden they went crazy over Metatron. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I started remote viewing and looking into it. And I'm like, oh, don't get involved in that. That's wicked evil. Don't get involved in that. So what I actually saw was I saw that the Metatronic being is actually a part of this simulated reality. It's a part of the sim taking on a form. Okay. So when I look into the sim, it goes all the way back to when this sim was first created. there were characters created in this simulation. Some of the characters, you're not going to like this: archangels, angels, deities, every kind of deity known to man. They're all a part of the simulated reality. So what has happened is we've got a dual thing, because this entire sim is created in a duality: negative, positive, yin, yang. Yin is feminine, yang is masculine. The yin is the positive, the yang is the negative. I'm not saying that masculine is negative, but that's how it's divided. So the yin part has deities and things, and let's call them archangels and things like this. And then the yang part has the same. You can call them the fallen angels, the dark ones, da 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 da. So when I had looked into the Metatronic kind of green, because this thing is green, it's green energy. Um, the first thing I noticed is, why is it green? Because I've seen other things and they look more uh, tangible, physical. Either they run dark or they run light. That's why you see archangels that are in white with big wings, or you see archangels that are black and black wings and they're all black. And it's like, why is this thing green? And then I realized that this entire Metatron thing is actually got to do with Michael. Michael is, when this whole sim was created, I always talk about Sophia created the sim. So the sim is half Sophia positive, half Michael negative. And Michael took on the green energy because it's a very powerful energy. The entire grid is green, and that's the Michael. Everything around us, if you could see in colors, which we don't, our light spectrum is so small, you would see that all frequencies carry a color, and the grid itself is green. I always think of that Matrix movie where you see green lines of data, what da 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 da. So it took on the green because it's a very powerful energy. So Michael is that Metatronic being. It isn't Enoch or this or that or that. No, it's Michael. It's always been Michael. And that's coming into a more compressed form. So when that Michael ended up on that back porch thing with the people I was talking to, well, the one guy from Germany, it was the condensed form, and it came through with a lightning strike. And it's like, whoa. So then I had to look into what is with the lightning where that could be coming and riding in on that. And what I saw was, it wasn't the lightning itself, it attached to the energy of the lightning from the ether pulling. When the lightning came down, it pulls the ether in, it rode the lightning, boom. And it's not the lightning, that's something completely different. Those are beings, but it's not Metatronic. It rode it like a parasite. And then down in, and there it was. And then after a little while, it dissipated. But meanwhile, it made a connection with the guy. And it made such an impression that he thought he was special and, I'm the chosen one. And he went off the deep end. And he ended up leaving the group. And oh, it was just crazy. It was crazy because then everybody was Metatron crazy, like, oh my God, it was a God. Let's worship. Let's worship. What do I always say? Don't give your power away. You are the most powerful God there ever was. Stop thinking there's a third person in between you and your own God. You have to go to your own temple to find that. That's inside of you.
Yeah. Yeah, in context of this, what you just explained, I'm wondering what this entire hype about green energy is.
Yeah, exactly. Since the Metatonic reality being, I don't know if you can call it an actual person because it's not corporeal. It's energy. Everything is energy. We're just a compressed form of energy. That's why we look like we're corporeal and have this state, but we're really not either. Anyway, yeah, green energy, the green party, the green this, the green that. And I found out when you start tearing all this green stuff down behind it, it's quite negative. And
Yeah,
it's got a very bad background.
yeah.
Mhm.
I have to admit, I'm not a huge fan of either angels or archangels or whatever. Uh,
No.
it, it doesn't impress me at all.
Mm-mm.
And but I know that a lot of people are so immersed in that. They couldn't imagine to live without it.
I think everybody wants, we're all trained that Superman has to come in and save us. It's, oh God, we could never save ourselves. Us weak, tiny little frail humans, what can I do? I can't do anything. For God's sake.
So then I found something. I will read this. I wrote it down so that I don't mix everything up. So it says here the Metatronic code is based on two spheres of biwaves influences of the Vesica Pisces instead of the eternal life three spheres or trinity wave.
Yeah. I always talk about we have two things going on when this simulation, because this is a sim. I don't care what anybody says, this is a sim. When it was created to begin with, it was done on a crystal-like spiral. Okay. That is a self-perpetuating whatever. You can go up and down, it doesn't matter, nothing stops you. When the Metatronic flower of life, daisy of death, Metatronic reality was created, it's created in a closed sigil system that eats upon itself, and it was overlaid onto the crystalline spiral. I always talk about what is this ascension truly about? It's the separating of, when you have the crystal spiral separating from the spider web that was overlaid on that, which is the eat you reality. In order for it to grow, it must eat upon itself. This is the reality we're in. This is why everyone is eating everything. Animals eat each other, plants eat each other, animals eat plants, plants eat animals. Think of the Venus flytrap. People eat both. Why have we become so corrupted? Because at one time, when we were running on the crystalline spiral, we were not the same beings that we are now in the fall. And then this reality was slapped over us, and we became even more condensed. Our entire form has changed. We're going through an ascension right now. Body parts have changed inside of us, and most of us are completely unaware of it. Your heart's not over on the side anymore, it's in the middle. Your kidneys aren't down in your lower back, they're up in your rib cage, and on it goes. There's a lot of changes inside of our body because we're going through this natural ascension. This is why certain things have been done to try to put into our bodies over time. I'm talking decades, so that we're running on an AI kind of reality inside of us with MAC addresses and things. But also because we're carrying that kind of metal, you can beam frequencies at us and keep us on a low vibration to slow down the ascension, because it's all done on frequency. The body will naturally raise up in its frequency. How do you stop a species from ascending? You do something to keep the frequency web, chain, gate on. And that's what that was all about. How do I stop my fish from getting out of the net?
Mm,
The net has nothing to do with anything physical. It has to do with frequency net.
mm. Do you think that is part of the reason why one war after the other pops up?
Yes. If
Mm,
I can keep you in a low frequency here, since we've been so disconnected from our trinity, our brain, our heart brain, and our gut brain, that is our trinity, and we
mm,
have been severed from it. And I keep you in a perpetual war where you're either running out of your head, you're running out of your heart, or you're running out of your gut. And because you don't have that equal balance, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. If you're too much in the brain, you're all logic and cold. If you're too much in the heart, everyone's going to use you like a doormat because you're too deep into sympathy and empathy. If you're only in the gut, you're in fight and flight continually. You need to make this combination trinity work as a unit where you become the brain, the heart, and the gut and become balanced.
yeah. Yeah, interesting that you say that. I recently had an interview with Sonia Barrett. She did her PhD in her 60s now
Wow.
in neuroscience, and we talked about these three brains.
Oh, awesome. I've been talking about these brains for years, and it's like, man, we got to get our brains together. We must become balanced. Since this sim is based on balance, it really is. Think about Anubis. What does he do? Anubis takes a scale, and the scale is a balance. So if your heart is heavier than the feather, that means you fail. The feather must be the heaviest, and the feather is a combination of the trinity. It means that the feather is a representation of intelligence, flight, which is your heart, and then your gut, which is, think about a bird. A bird does several things. It has flight, yet it weighs nothing. If a bird was really, really heavy, it would have to be having a lot of feathers or a lot of something. That's why their bones are all hollow. All birds have hollow bones, so you don't have the weight. So the feather is a representation. We have lost the meaning of seeing the scales of the heart and the feather. The heart represents heavy, dense, emotional. That's as far away from being balanced as you can ever get. In order to be balanced, you always have to put yourself into a third person scenario when crap is thrown at you. So when stuff's thrown at you and you're like, okay, I can't handle this, you're going to step out of yourself. You're going to be like, okay, that's my friend's problem, not mine. And I'm a really good friend of you. I love you. And I'm going to help you resolve this because it has no effect on me. This is how you balance things that are thrown at you. When you get to the point where you find solutions for your friend, you step back into your own problems. You know the solutions. Now you deal with the consequences. You're going to scream, you're going to yell, you're going to cry, you're going to curse. You do whatever you need to do. And then there's the next thing, you let it go. It's
Mm.
the letting it go that raises the frequency. This is the bird feather, being able to be light as a feather, because that creates balance. When you balance, your trinity becomes one. We have to learn how to rebalance our reality in this yin and yang reality. This is what it's all about, the balancing of.
Yeah. And I notice this all around me that people are pretty much out of balance, no matter where you look. It has reached a point where I started living like a hermit.
Oh my, oh, that's terrible. Don't live like a hermit.
Yeah,
But
but I don't have a problem with it. I'm okay with it. It's not that I'm suffering, but sometimes, people are so unhinged
yeah.
and emotionally driven in their reactions and the way the slight problem comes up and they completely overreact and start yelling and wow.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's really bad. That they would be failing. If Anubis put them to the scales right now, you cannot live into emotion. That's why I said you got to pull that trinity together. You have to have the intelligence and you have to have the heart, which is the compassion, the love, the empathy, the understanding, but you've also got to have the gut. I tell a lot of people, everyone ignores their gut because they're trained to. When you have that first initial feeling and you meet someone and that is the truest it'll ever be. I don't care if somebody tells you that's mean or that's wrong or you're wrong or no, you listen to your gut because your gut will never do you wrong. And you'll find, and it'll prove out that over time you should have listened to your gut to begin with.
Yeah, that is true. I have banged my head enough times by willfully ignoring it, that I can say today, no, my gut feeling is, that is the initial thing, and then you can take it from there and investigate it. That is then when your intelligence comes in, and because, yeah, first impressions can be, distorted or not quite correct. But in general, yeah, you better listen.
Yeah, I will tell you why the gut is so important. We have a biofield around us. It's just like from hand to hand. This is the normal state of our biofield. We rarely shrink it in. And when we do, it's done intentionally. We might not even know we're doing that. So when you step into a room and your biofield's out to here and somebody comes into your biofield, just standing within 5 feet of you, they're already standing in your biofield. 80% of everything you are is in that biofield. And that includes every sensor you have. Everyone thinks they're only the avatar. No, the avatar is connected to the biofield because we don't quite fit into these avatars. The biofield is your energy being. We don't fit into these avatars. That's why we have a biofield. Basically, somebody comes into your biofield, you have a gut reaction. Oh, I just love them, or get away from me. It's because you're reading into their biofield, whether they say a single word. So when you have your first reaction to somebody, it has got nothing to do with what they say. It's got everything to do with what they're carrying in their biofield, whether or not you're rejecting it or not. And no one thinks like this. Well, he's never said anything and I can't stand him. Well, why do you think that is?
Because you are prejudiced.
I
Yeah,
tell you, but
yeah,
that biofield is so underestimated and misunderstood and outright denied. It's unbelievable.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that is, of course, you can give all sorts of reasons why not to listen to this and approach it with your brain, and then you will see that this person is not really what you thought he was, and da 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 da. But that is again this brain overruling the gut brain. Yeah, and that has nothing to do with balance.
Yep. And that's why we must get that trinity up and working together as a single unit because it makes you whole.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So now we have also a line of thought out there that Metatron is actually not a single angel, it's an entire collective. That this,
Well, go ahead.
can I finish?
Go ahead.
That it is an entire collective, and this collective was tasked after the Lyran Wars. Yeah, when Lyra fell, was tasked to repair the time matrix. And they failed at that.
Mm.
And when they failed, they got because what they actually Lyra used to be the 12th Stargate that had a direct connection to the Andromeda galaxy. So, and when they failed, they got absorbed into the artificial intelligence systems that were built by black hole entities. So, what do you make of that?
Okay, well, here we go. Hang on to your hats. I'm going to go for a long one here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can take all the time.
First off, I have a couple things that trigger me when I hear planet, when I hear space, because it's not what we think. It is not what we think. There are thousands and thousands of documents that we're not allowed to have. There are tests you can do for this too, and then I'll talk about that. What if I were to tell you we're on a flat plane, which I know I've talked to you about this before, inside of a Dyson sphere, on top of a huge cosmic egg, and every one of these places, Saturn, Jupiter, this, that, the other, is outside of this dome. I call it a dome because I'm talking about the flat plane and what's above us. It is a full Dyson sphere, but I always talk about being a snow globe dome. And space, as we know it, is nothing but the playbook above us. It's a projection. How can I prove that it is a projection? Ever heard of a thing called a sextant? that sailors used to use to navigate the night skies on the ocean because there's no landmarks. A sextant only works on a flat plane, not a round globe. It can't work on a round globe. You can't see the entire night sky if it's underneath of you. Then the next thing is, if you take a sextant from 6,000 years ago and maps from 6,000 years ago up to almost 8,000 years ago, it is as accurate today by the degree as it was back then. And that's us spinning through space at thousands of miles a day and trillions of miles throughout that time frame. Trillions and trillions of miles. Yet the same sextant is accurate to the degree. How is that physically possible? I've had people say, well, we're so small that even if we move trillions and trillions and trillions of miles, we won't have moved. That is in no reality ever going to work. We're not that small. And even if we were, if you even moved, it would be off a slight part of a degree. And it's like, oh, no, no, no. They have taken lasers in this reality now because we have the technology to do it, where they lasered from this point to this point. There should have been a curvature, and there is none. There's no curvature, none. This stuff can be researched and found now. They had, when they first went up as high as they could, and I can't remember the data exactly, but you can find it somewhere if it hasn't been scrubbed from the internet yet, that on the first space trip, and they went up in the air, they could see the entire, all of the continents with pictures of the continents, which if you were on a ball, there's no way. How are you taking a picture and seeing all your continents below you if you're on a ball? You would have stuff that's down here. It wouldn't be in the picture, but there it was. There's so much evidence out there, and everyone's still like, oh, you know, and it's the whole thing about the flat earthers and then the globers. It's more than that. You're on a huge cosmic egg. This is one tiny little snow globe. There are a lot of snow globes. There's land outside of here. There's maps that even prove this that are old and dated. And it's like, this is a terrarium with one kind of reality inside of it. And there are many terrariums. We know nothing.
If it's really a simulation, is it not possible that it can take any shape it wants?
That's right. It's a simulation. What you believe, you will produce in the next frame. Who's creating the next frame? We are, with your belief system. If you're in a simulation and you're going to make beings in this simulation, the one thing you want is you want everyone unified on a single thought, because it takes less energy to create a unified thought. What happens when everyone starts breaking away and they think this and they think this? Now we got a billion people thinking different things. The simulation's going to go overtime on using energy to create all of this. It doesn't want that, because then we start getting breakdowns. Oh my gosh, some of the breakdowns that we get are timeline merges, where multiple timelines no longer match a single timeline. And then we've got Mandela effects. Too many people are thinking out of the box, and this sim is doing everything it can to make everybody have what they need.
Yeah, the Mandela effect, that was a couple of years ago, that was a big subject. But
And it's still happening. It's still, I'll give you a quick little example of that. In this reality, I went a couple of days ago walking up a park, and I walked up to a bench. It was next, there was a tree, and then there was a bench up here next to this other tree. And then the other day, I went to the same park and walked up, and there was a bench, a second bench. And it's like, I stopped and looked at that like, I was walked through this the other day. This bench wasn't there. I would have had to walk through the bench to get there. And Arthur's like, where'd that bench come from? I'm like, okay, you just verified and validated me stopping and looking at the bench like, I just meandered through this bench the other day. This big wooden bench that wasn't there. That is your simulated reality. And the bench looked like it had been there for at least 10 years because it was rusted and old and the wood was cracking. What? Timeline merges.
Mhm.
Timeline merges. As we start to ascend, ascension means waking up. When we start to wake up, we start to see through the simulation. That is what ascension is basically about. Waking up. It's like having a lucid dream, because this is but a dream also. Natives throughout the entire snow globe, American Indians, Aboriginals, always talk about dream walking and being in a dream. And this is a dream. It's in all their histories. When we start to wake up, since this is but a dream, it's lucid dreaming. You're waking up in a lucid dream. That is a part of the ascension also.
Yeah, that's also what the Buddhists are saying.
You're waking up in the dream. You're becoming lucid in the dream. This is us becoming lucid.
Mm.
hmm So the Metatronic thing, oh my gosh. I will tell you that when I look at the Metatron, there are energy beings. There's all kinds of different energy. Let's just straighten this out first. There's matrix energy, which can create all kinds of things. And then there's real energy being energy. Okay, that's you and me. We're real energy beings in this simulated reality, but a dream. When the matrix starts to break up and different things play different parts, they come and they go. Dolores Cannon talked about them as being backdrop people or what have you. This is still energy of the matrix that can actually formulate into any given thing. And Michael is gathering that up because it makes him stronger. The more energy he collects from the ether and things around, the stronger that gets. So the energy beings themselves will never be a part of. They're either dark beings, which have lost their way from God's source playing field, or they're like us, they're energy beings, but we are still connected to God's source energy field. And I call God source an energy field because it's not an actual being. You could kind of say it's a being, but it's actually a field. It's a field of consciousness, thought, because all of us break down into nothing but thought. If you were to strip us from everything, we would be nothing but pure thought. We push into a frequency, which pushes into an energy wave, which pushes into physicality, if you wanted to break it down. It's as simple as that. So we've got the matrix energy and we've got real energy being energy. And when I see Michael, which is your Metatronic reality, I see it just collecting to become stronger because it wants to be your God. It wants to be the all. It is an unsustainable energy. It needs to be sustained by some physical source of something. Because we are from God's source, we are a fractal of God itself, are self-sustaining. We are the batteries that keep this matrix running. If we did not say we're in, let's make this like a game. I've got a game, I've got 1,000 levels. I've only got 100 energy beings. Only where the energy beings are will the game open up and can be rendered. Without an energy being, there's no energy to render anything. How are we the energy to render anything? Our untapped energy consists of thought, and that is invention, creation. We're the ones creating everything around us. Without us, it's just the matrix. It's empty. It is what it is. It's the field of emptiness. You have to create the next frame. If there's no energy beings, it doesn't get rendered. What happens if your energy beings are starting to wake up and they're going to get out of this sim? Well, what's going to run the sim? There'll be nothing to run the sim. It is not self-sustaining. It is not perpetual energy. Who is the 0 point energy? We are. We're the true 0 point energy.
Mm. When you say Michael and Metatron Matrix, so in your book, Michael and Metatron are not separate beings?
No, it's the same being, just like through history, being named different things. Do you know if you go through history, They'll have like 20 words or 20 names for the same being, depending on where the history came from. It's still the same being.
Mhm. Okay,
Michael.
so in other words, Michael created the Metatron Matrix.
Yes. Michael got help to create the Metatron Matrix. He couldn't do it by itself. So, what do you do when you have beings that came in here and they became extremely corrupted because they fell from God source energy? They became corporeal, and the more corporeal they became, the more corrupted they became. They lost their, say you're an energy being and you don't have physicality like this, and you wanted to experience physicality like this. You wanted your five senses and you wanted them full on. I want to know what it's like to taste, touch, feel, see, hear. Okay, there's your five senses. And you didn't have that. You could see to a degree, it'd be different because you're looking through frequencies. You could feel somewhat, but it's going to be different. You could taste, not at all, because you don't have a real mouth. You want to experience sex. What's it like to be with another? You don't have that. That's not even in your reality. You fall. You allow yourself to fall. And when you fall hard enough and you fall down into this corporeal soup that we are now in, you start experiencing, and then you realize, I want more. You've gone to the amusement park, you've rode every ride 20 times. What's your next thrill? You keep looking for the next thrill. What's the next new high? What is it? This is where the split happened in our reality with the dark and the light. Those beings that are real energy beings tanked. They, at this point, they became the Jack the Rippers of our reality, and they completely severed their connection to source consciousness. So you have to ask in the very beginning, why was this matrix even created? This matrix was created on a crystalline spiral so that the ones outside of here that had fallen, even there, could be put someplace, because there was going to be a huge frequency change and they were going to be literally blown into smithereens, because high frequency will destroy low frequency all day long. It's just the way it is. Boom. So you create something in a very old system. I call it the Sophia system. And she created a firewalled off place to create this simulated reality for those dark beings, done on a crystalline spiral, so that you could go start at the bottom and through incarnations, the original incarnations, not this Metatronic secondary incarnation system that's going on, where as soon as you die, you go to the light and you get thrown right back in here, being sold a bill of goods. That's how they do it. They sell you a bill of goods. Anyway, you go into this system, and throughout lifetimes, you work your way up slowly. You're not going to take Jack the Ripper, throw flowers and candy and accolades at it, and think it's going to be a good being. Doesn't work like that. You put them through many lifetimes where they have to live full lifetimes. And through the progression, it's still their choice. They can go up. What has happened is at a point when some of these dark beings decided that they don't want to change. They want to rule. They want to be here. They want to do all these evil things. They want to see the next thrill, and the next thrill of hurting, harming, whatever, because they're so dark. They decided that they weren't going to move. This is where Metatron comes in. And Metatron, with them, the black arts, whatever you want to call it, the devil worshippers, whatever you want to call it, got Metatron in with them, these energy beings, and together they created the Metatronic Flower of Life, Daisy of Death reality. And that's when it went over the crystalline. And that was the takeover. And that was the corruption.
Hmm. Yeah. So of course, then we have to have a look at the Metatron cube. And I automatically get suspicious when anybody is presented holding a cube or showing me a cube.
Yeah, that
Uh,
thing on the head.
and usually people think it's, yeah, it's a sacred geometry.
Ay,
Uh,
ay, ay, ay,
and
ay.
it's a tool to align with the divine. And but to me, the cube is not a divine conduit. It's something that keeps you confined and therefore controlled and drained of your energy.
Absolutely. It's a dead end. It's a dead end. It's a box you can't get out of. It's a dead end. I started looking into this cube thing myself, and I'm like, well, that's the flower of life. That's the daisy of death. That's that's the dead end. That's the secondary incarnation system that everyone's like, when Hollywood sells you, go to the light, go to the light, go to your little trap, get wiped, everything you've ever learned goes away, and you start all over again. Because don't you know this is a place to learn and grow? Then you have to answer yourself this: how do you take a bunch of Jack the Rippers and put them into a place and a space where they can grow and get out of this if they are willing to do this?
Mm.
This is when you have people like us coming in, because you're not going to just have a dark Jack the Ripper reality and think anything is going to change. Even going up the spiral, they'll never make the first spiral. So that's where we come in, and we come in and we change it. And when I look into the cube, the whole cube thing, it all started back with those fallen dark energy beings, the ones that refused to go up and out, who wanted to take control in here and be the masters in here. And with the Metatronic reality, giving them an edge of. So the Metatronic reality, Michael, is a very old system that was placed here a long, long time ago, back in the beginning of the first resets. It was in the ether, and then it was created through technology. We did not start off as cavemen. We started off with high, high technology inside of here, including the Jack the Rippers. Okay. So if you go back into the Vedas and through that, information, you'll realize, the technology has always been high here, and we're the dumb caveman. We are the dumb caveman. And when I hear a lot of people say, oh, but we're so technologically advanced, no, our technology is given to us, it's fed to us. Why do you think everything is compartmentalized? We didn't create Jack. They're giving us this stuff. You get this piece, you get this piece, you get this piece. Can you figure out how to put it together? And if you can't, we're still going to help you do it. This is
Mm.
why only 150 years ago, after that last reset, we were back to horse and buggy. And now look at us today. We've got smart everything, smartphones. We've got towers everywhere. You think all of a sudden we just got smart and all of a sudden we just made all this? For goodness sakes, we've even made drugs that have time release in them, which that's a whole nother story on how that really works. And from horse and buggy from 150 years ago, if our species is more than 150 years old, why weren't we this smart before the horse and buggy? What happened? You think we just became intelligent? I don't think so. You can go out to any place, if you can go into America and you can go ask people stupid little questions and they're clueless. I'll give you an example. How many states are in the United States of America? And most people haven't got a clue. Where does Italy stand? What is the Schengen? And they don't have a clue. Who was your first president? And these people who are the common people all of a sudden became intelligent. They're as stupid as a box of rocks as they were 150 years ago. And you can say this for all humans, because if I went and started asking any human anywhere in this snow globe something about something you should know about, but you don't because you're more concerned about your day to day, and we created all this technology, and this is the common intelligence of humans? No, no.
Um, yeah, usually any invention, that engineers or whoever is inventing it do, um, yeah, it is then rolled out to the masses. Nobody really understands it. They just use it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Think how many people don't even know how to use their cell phone. This thing has a million functions on it. It does all kinds of things, and you're unaware of it. This technology, oh my gosh, it is connected to so many things. One of the reasons they started taking and making this phone where it has an internal battery you cannot take out, because the only way you're ever going to really turn it off is take the battery out. Mine has a battery. So when I went to go buy this 2 years ago, I went into old new stock and bought this because I have the ability to take off the back, pop out the battery, and it is at that point useless. Think how many phones don't have that anymore. Majority.
Mm. Yeah. So, in other words, the Metatron practitioners are getting ensnared into an artificial grid
Yes,
that is severing their link to their spiritual freedom.
absolutely.
Mm.
God source playing field. What would you want to do if the entire human species is going through an ascension, which most of them are 99% plus of the common people have no idea that their bodies are changing and that we're going through a natural ascension, and you needed to keep everybody intact. You're running in groups, let's just call them what they are, the cabal, the deep state, what have you. They've been in charge since the last reset. They were in charge before that, and they were in charge before that. Because if you go back 5 resets, because we're in our 5th reset now, they're the ones that were running everything. And this is one of the reasons why Atlantis fell to begin with, because that is where the initial split took place. This was the crystalline city beings who came into corporeal form, who wanted to be with the daughters and the sons of man, because humans were not them. They were a different type of life form, and they wanted to become corporeal. And that set off a chain of events of the split in duality in this simulation. They were also the dark beings that came in and were put in here into this simulation. They didn't come in as flesh and blood. They came in as crystalline city beings because they were so high and advanced outside of this sim. They strictly put them in at that level. I mean, so we have that entire story on how I talk about this stuff on my Patreon, and I dove in deep over the last year on how this all, fell, what happened, da 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 da, and put timelines in, because the majority of our history is done by the victor. And your history that you're learning is done by the victor, and you're going to get their version of. And it isn't really the version of anything, it's their version of how the reality is and what it is and what you're to expect. And it's so far from the truth. It's a fairy tale.
Yeah. So when when you what I also see happening is a loop of activation and reactivation. You keep on meditating on Metatron or the cube or what have you, and thinking that it will take you closer to enlightenment. But in fact, you are looping and your energy and your concentration on that is siphoned off
Mhm.
and put into an artificial grid.
Absolutely. And it strengthens the grid too. Every time you go to a ball field or a game, whether it be football, whether it be soccer, whatever, you're in a energy gathering, collecting. And I've talked about this years ago too, and I talk about it off and on. This entire place, if you went up above and look at how it's made, it's a computer board. It's a freaking computer board. These nodes, these things are now and have been for since the resets have been reversed. We used to have these things, and I had gone somewhere last year to Frejus in France, And I went to this Coliseum and I touched the walls and I'm like, wow, because I can touch things and stuff comes in. And there was
Mm.
enough left of the old structure that wasn't destroyed that I touched the old stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And realized that at one point before the destructions, they were deliberately made so that in that time frame, this is back when the pyramids were first created. It was the same time frame. You could go in there. They had water running around the Coliseum because water was a conduit, and the water would come in, run around, and go out. It was made like uh, it's like an amphitheater, and the entire theater is made like a speaker. So they would go in there. They did not have games of killing. They did not have any slaughtering going on. Originally, it was for music. They would have harps and they would have instruments. I don't even know what those instruments are. I've never seen them reproduced. And they would go in there. They'd have the water running. People would go in. They would sing with the music being played, all instrumentals. No single person would sing. The entire audience would sing. And this vibration would go out and into the ether, and it would energize the entire system, keeping it on a very high frequency. This all got taken down, got turned into death games and twisted. This was the takedown. This was our reality of what it was to what it is now. That was all done. These crystalline city beings were incredibly intelligent. When they had fallen and they started off in Atlantis, you know, Lemuria a little bit, and Mu a little bit, but mostly Atlantis. Um, they had such high technology, and like that amusement park, they needed another thrill. They started creating chimeras. This is why you see chimeras in everything. You see goatmen, you see Anubis, wolf man. Anubis is a wolf man. Okay. So basically, when they started creating the chimeras, they already hit the all-time low. That's when the fun, they had like 10 little resets in Atlantis and 3 big ones. The last third big one is the one where it was gone, basically gone. And so when I look into this whole thing with the dark ones, the Metatronic reality, it started back then. And with the chimeraing, they were able to, because they weren't solidified in the bodies yet. One of the reasons they created the chimeras is they could take their consciousness and go into that chimera and experience what it's like to be Wolfman with all that strength, Anubis, what it's like to be Horus, what it's like to be this, what it's like to be that, because that was all a reality because they could shift consciousness into those vessels, empty vessels. That chimering hasn't stopped to this day. My government, your government, all governments are still doing chimeras and they're still doing soul transfers, not to the degree because they lost some of the knowledge, but that has never stopped.
You know what I think? This entire transhumanism thing is,
Wow.
but let alone if that is even possible, to upload a consciousness into a computer. I do not want to quarrel about that. I have doubts. Let's put it that way. But let's say it's possible. To me, that is the next level soul trap.
It's a big one, and it is the next level soul trap. So, what happens when we do certain things and it changes our DNA because of the mRNA changes? Well, your babies are going to be born Borg, and there will automatically in utero be hooked up to Mama AI, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Not a moment will they not. So, energy beings will come into these avatars. They're instantly hooked up to AI. Have you seen some of the videos where people are having babies and right out of utero being born, they're sitting up within an hour, looking around with their big black graphene eyes? Find the
I've
videos.
seen
I'll
that.
send you some.
I have.
3 weeks old and the babies are walking. That's impossible. But their bones are comprised of graphene, and graphene is AI. Yes,
Mm.
start looking. I'll send you the video. I have a video.
Okay.
People having babies, and people are in the birthing rooms filming their babies being born, and within an hour they're sitting up looking around like, hey, I'm here, and fully aware, big black graphene eyes. And then babies walking at 3 weeks old, babies crawling and doing this at a day, a single day, trying to flip over. Our bodies are not created like that. We're all cartilage basically when we're born, not these babies.
That reminds me a little bit what you sometimes see in movies when they have when they do an, enhanced development of a baby. There are certain movies, that yeah, the baby is born and then I don't know, 2 years later they already look like they are 7, 8 years old
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and have the same abilities. That is what that reminds me of what you just said.
Yeah, I'll send you the video when this is over, and you don't be in shock.
No, I don't. There's not much that shocks me really. So, if you say we are now at a point of natural ascension,
Hmm.
so what does that look like? How do we
Oh,
make
okay.
a way out of here?
Okay. So we have, I'm going to go down to the very root of this. When we were beings before we were completely corrupted, because even though we were in here, these avatars were not corrupted. We were not this dense with an entire chakra system on us to keep us down, connected to every part of our body, that we're all worshiping this chain system. One of the reasons we only use 3% of our brain, or 7, most of us don't even use 3 hardly, is because of the chakra system, because it's connected each part of your brain and it locks you down. So anyway, through this natural ascension, these chakras are naturally coming off. No one's taking them off. Nobody could take off your chakras because it runs on the frequency you carry. The chakras are governors. So if you're not able to handle, because you're not on the right frequency, your chakras coming off, here's what happens. When the chakras come down, you're going to have mad skill set. Every one of your clairs is going to be coming online. Clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, you name it. I will even have the power to say, and I wouldn't be able to do this if the chakras came down because I wouldn't be in this frequency. But today, if your chakras all came down with the frequencies these people are at, I could say, disappear, and you'd be gone. I would obliterate you into nothingness, so small, particles, you wouldn't even exist. This is why the chakra system is on to begin with, because we have been so corrupted. If we're not on that frequency, they don't come down. So, what does this ascension look like? As you start to ascend up, your body is starting to do it on the inside. It's only so much you can do. Each person is ascending at their individual rate. Okay. So it takes 7 years for your body to self replicate, because we are self replicating biological machines. So 2017 was the beginning of the first 7 years. We have 12 of these 7 years. When you get halfway, which is 7 years, 7 years, 7 years, you'll have most of your clairs online. Here's the thing, depending on how fast you're ascending, depends on how fast it's going to take you to ascend. Some of us won't need a full 7 years. Some of us will need a shorter time to make a full ascension in that 7 year period. Some of us will only take 2 or 3 years instead of 7. It depends on the individual. And let me tell you how this works. If I get to a place where I become balanced, truly balanced, it forces the ascension. You're not in the negative too much, acting like an idiot. You're not positive, killing people like Jack the Ripper. You keep balancing. The longer you stay balanced, those chakras naturally come off. When the chakras come off, each individual chakra, the first one's going to be the top chakra up here. The next one will be this chakra. It goes from the top down, and I'll tell you why. You have to become completely knowledgeable and educated and realize that your emotional state, your trinity, needs to be combined to make a single unit. in order for these chakras to go any further. That's why the first top two chakras will come off on their own. And from there, it's an individual base. Everyone I look at has lost the very top chakra in your biofield. From there, it depends on the individual. And the next thing you know, you have mad skill set. All of a sudden, you're around people and you can hear their thoughts. You can pick up what they're going to say. You know what they're going to do before they do it. Deja vu starts becoming prevalent in your reality for scenarios. This is your chakras coming off. These are your clairs coming online. Your body is going to end up going to a 5D reality, but your body can't go without your mindset being there first. This has to go first. If this doesn't go first, this is retarded. So we'll be taking our bodies with us to 5D. The only thing is, most of us will die out before that ever happens because they're so far away from ascension, it's not even funny. It's done on an individual basis. There are several things you can start asking yourself. Do you question everything? Do you want to know? Is love and mercy and kindness in your vocabulary? One of the biggest things with the you know what's was to destroy the frontal lobe. We're connected to the God source field, not through here, this silver cord everyone says is coming here. It's actually in your mind. It's here through your pineal gland. If I needed to destroy that connection, something's got to run the avatar. It's either going to be God source field consciousness or it's going to be AI. Who's running the avatar? I'm going to destroy this connection here by destroying the brain, by introducing something that can destroy it, parasites, that can destroy your brain and cauterize it from growing back because your brain will grow back. There have been so many case tests where brain damage has been fixed within a year because we are self-replicating. But the second you cauterize something, it cannot grow back. This is why when you get bones, they want to cauterize it because what happens when you don't cauterize a bone? It will grow back. I don't care if you've lost this much of your finger, it will grow back. So we're going to destroy that. We're going to let AI be what's running the avatar. And then we're going to make sure that all the babies are connected in utero. We don't even have to destroy that because of what has been done. So the ascension can do a couple of things. Say I did whatever I did and I regret doing what I did as far as getting certain things in this reality. This ascension will undo that damage. AI cannot go to 5D. It does not work in 5D. It's out of its frequency. AI runs on a frequency. This is why we're having the ascension to get us up and out of this frequency that is being run now outright to AI. This is why we're in a reset. Every time we come to this point where AI overtakes humanity, we're in for a reset. That's us now. That's why we're having this reset. So the ascension depends on the individual. Are you willing? Are you able? Can you question everything? Start looking into everything. Where's your love? Love is a big one. It pushes the ascension. But it can't just be love. It's got to be your gut and your brain working as a trinity, a full trinity. You know, I did watch that Matrix movie, and they kept saying that Neo was with Trinity, and it was all about Neo finding his Trinity. It isn't. Trinity was never supposed to be another person. It's the Trinity inside of you. This is the love that will never die. This is what it was really supposed to be about. And that got twisted because somebody changed it in the movie. That's what I actually saw.
Yeah, but I think they, how can I say this? This is a concept that people can understand and comprehend, and because they have grown up with a very distorted image of a romantic love, anyhow, which was introduced by Hollywood.
Mhm.
And there are so many things, not only in the Matrix movies, that are metaphors for something else. It's kind of encoded, the entire story. And let's say only, yeah, people who like to ask questions will dig deeper and look at why is she called Trinity? And what,
Yeah,
yeah, so, and yeah, okay. And then there are people who, yeah, okay, they called her Trinity. So what? No, no, it has a reason.
yeah, it does. So basically, the ascension is we have something inside of each and every blood cell. It's called mitochondria.
Mm.
I just did a video on this maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago on my Patreon because I listened to somebody else and they just mentioned mitochondria and I got boom, I got hit with all this information. It's like, whoa, whoa. I remember a mitochondria when I was like in middle school. We learned almost nothing about it. And then we went on to the next thing. And then it was like, I got to research mitochondria. What's going on with this mitochondria? And then I got all these downloads before I even researched it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the God particle. Our mitochondria is the God particle. There's 250 plus mitochondria in a single cell, blood cell. The mitochondria kind of looks like a pill. Inside of it, it's a battery. And you need it to run your muscles. It runs every part of you. Okay. Without mitochondria in your blood, you're going to be extremely tired, exhausted, lethargic, what have you. I saw that when humans fell, our God source energy turned into the mitochondria. And we get the experience of it when it does this, when you feed it what it needs. What's going to happen is with this ascension, we will no longer need what it needs to feed on now in this more corporeal form. Right now, it needs vitamin B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, folic acid, magnesium, CoQ10, and a few other things. This is what your mitochondria needs in this form. I see us changing where when it lights up, it's going to flip and stay on, and we become luminous. And when it stays on, we will no longer need these things. The ether itself will be the food, and here comes the true breatharians. There are no breatharians here today. Juicing doesn't make you a breatharian. True breatharians is what we used to be, and the eat you reality is broken and the end of the Metatronic control over the crystal spiral.
So,
You.
2017, the first 7 years started.
And depending on you, depends on how fast you ascend.
Hmm.
It's individual.
And there are 12 of those
There's 12.
7 years.
Oh, yep.
Yeah,
Because there it
yeah, I'm
is.
gone by then.
No, here's another thing I will add in. If you start to ascend faster, time is not what you think it is.
Hmm.
I did a whole video on time. Feel time speeding up, do you? All of a sudden, it isn't like it used to be. People are saying, well, it's just because you're getting older. What about children? They're not getting older and they feel it too. Where's the day? We just started. Because time is ascending in this ascension. It's going faster. This is why no man shall know the day or time, because time itself has changed. And so will you. Instead of you dying at your old rate of time, now your time has gone faster, much faster. We might be living in a day we think is 24 hours and it's only 12. Okay. We perceive it as 24 because everything around us tells us this. Our body is telling us something else, but we perceive it in this simulated reality as something else. All of a sudden, you are no longer 70. You're no longer 80. You're no longer 90. What it's actually doing is it's creating you to go backwards. So you start de-aging. Next thing you know, oh, damn, I thought I had more wrinkles there. What's going on? I thought I had more wrinkles here. You'll hit a plateau where you start going backwards. In this ascension, you'll start getting younger. Most of us won't hit this to the midway point, but depending on the individual and who you are and what you do in your reality, where does your heart lie? Where does your brain lie? Where does your gut lie? These things can accelerate that to get to that point where all of a sudden you're 150 years old. Yeah, you don't look like you're older than 50.
Yeah, I sometimes feel like 130.
That's another thing. The heaviness. Have you noticed where you'll wake up and all of a sudden you're walking around and you're like, my God, I weigh 1,000 pounds. That's us going up in density. There are 12 densities in each frequency. A frequency or a dimension is 3D. We're in the 3D, but there's 12 densities in this 3D. When you keep going up a little bit like a clock, this avatar gets extremely heavy. You might stand on the scale and say, but I weigh the same as yesterday, but I feel 50 pounds heavier. It's because you're ascending and this body needs to catch up. You ascend here first.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you're pulling your body with you. And over a while, it'll get better. And then you'll have it again. Oh, crap. I feel like I jumped into a pool and I'm walking around with wet clothes on. Yeah.
Mm.
Because we keep going up, our bodies have to catch up. And then we'll be okay again.
Do you think that it also has to do with why some people age extremely
Oh,
fast and others they
there are, when I've looked into this, I've seen several factors. I'm going to name them. One factor is the, you know what, there was something put in there to pre-age you, like those little children that top out at 6 and they're 100. That's one factor. The next factor is if you're not going along with this ascension that we're in, you're being compressed. In this compression, time changes, moves differently for you. This is why you can be 90 years old and still look like you're 60, where somebody who's 30 looks like they're 60.
Mm, mm,
So we
mm.
have the one thing over here. Remember, this one thing over here that's been done to everybody can be undone through this ascension. It can be, because the further you get away, this entire spiral is done on 9 dimensions. Okay. The first one is non-corporeal. It's where the darkest of the dark was put. 2 and 3, we're on number 3, are physical. 4 is like number 1. It's a bridge. It's not physical. It's only a bridge. 5 and 6 are physical. Right now, we're in the transitions from 3. We've jumped on that bridge and we're going to 5. We'll get here first before this matches that. It has to be that way. When we fully immerse into 5 dimension, which is a frequency, we're not going to have the same bodies anymore. That's huge. So 5 and 6 are corporeal. 7 is another bridge to get you to 8 and 9. Once you hit 9, now I say this for the dark ones, because real energy beings, once we hit 5, we can leave. We don't have to be in here. This was only created for the darkest of the dark to get them out anyway, to raise their frequency. This is where the distinction is. We don't belong here. We came in for a purpose, and that was to raise everything so they could get out eventually. So plus this place got corrupted. So once we hit 9, or not us, but them, they hit 9, they will match the frequency outside of here. There is 1,000 years now that just started, where they have 1,000 years left before this entire schematic gets closed. And what I mean by closed is those firewalls come down. When the firewalls come down, the frequency outside of here is going to come in here like a tsunami. And if you're not on that frequency, you're going to be obliterated into the smallest particle. And then eventually you'll be reabsorbed through the source field consciousness. What's left of you.
So space dust. Yeah, I know you don't like the word space, but you know what I mean.
Basically.
Mm.
So this is a warning to all of the dark, evil ones out there. You got 1,000 years, and that's going to go by pretty quick. And if you don't make this, those firewalls are coming off. And when they do, there'll be nowhere to go, because everything outside of here has already ascended.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, thank you. That was great, and we finally talked about the Metatron grid.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's never what you think it is. When everyone talks about this, and this, no, there's so many psyops in cyber world with narratives. These people with the black cube on their head, they know somewhat of what's going on, but they are even clueless. I was talking to you in the beginning where I've been on Patreon, not Patreon, but YouTube for almost 6 years, not quite. And I've had 2 strikes, and they're still taking videos down behind that telling me, sorry, we didn't know about that over there. You're not going anywhere. If they knew, they would have gotten rid of me. The only reason I'm kept around is because once you hit a certain frequency, you can't use your looking glass technology to see anything further. You need people like me who already are there. So to relay to you what's going on. This is why they never got rid of my channel. My God, they've gotten rid of thousands of channels. And yet my little tiny little bitty nothing channel is still standing. Why? Why?
Yeah, we will never know.
What is?
Okay, so yeah, that was it, guys. Night flight for today, and we see you on the next one.